Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr. Deckard?
Just answer the questions, please.
Rain falls on neon-lit streets in a future Los Angeles, steam rising from gutters, and through the darkness walks a woman who isn't quite human but feels more real than anyone around her. Sean Young is Rachel in Blade Runner, her face a perfect mask of 1940s glamour, shoulder pads sharp as weapons, eyes holding the devastating knowledge that her memories are implanted, that her entire existence is a lie. When she asks Deckard if he's ever retired a human by mistake, her voice carries a tremor that suggests she already knows the answer. It's 1982, and Sean Young has just created one of science fiction's most haunting performances, a replicant so achingly human that she transcends the genre entirely. She's 23 years old, impossibly beautiful, on the verge of major stardom. Within a few years, she'll be one of Hollywood's most sought-after actresses, commanding leading roles opposite the biggest stars in the world. And then, almost overnight, it will all collapse, not through lack of talent or fading beauty, but through something more complicated and more tragic, a refusal to play Hollywood's games, a series of conflicts that would brand her difficult and unstable, and a systematic blacklisting that would turn one of the most talented actresses of her generation into a cautionary tale. This is the story of why. Mary Sean Young was born on November 20th, 1959, in Louisville, Kentucky, into a family that valued intelligence and creativity. Her father was a television producer, her mother a screenwriter, both working in an industry that Sean would eventually enter and be destroyed by. The family moved frequently due to her father's work, living in Ohio, then Cleveland, giving Sean an early education in impermanence and adaptation. She was striking even as a child, tall and angular with features that suggested old Hollywood rather than modern beauty standards. But more than beautiful, she was smart, intense, the kind of girl who asked too many questions and refused easy answers. She attended the Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan, a prestigious school for young artists, studying dance and theater with serious commitment. Ballet taught her discipline, precision, the ability to control her body as an instrument. Acting taught her how to access emotions she couldn't always articulate. After Interlochen, Sean moved to New York to study at the School of American Ballet, imagining a future as a professional dancer. But a back injury ended that dream before it began, forcing her to pivot toward acting full-time. She studied at the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, learning method techniques that emphasized emotional truth and psychological depth. New York in the late 70s was expensive and competitive, and Sean supported herself through modeling, using her unusual looks to book editorial work while auditioning for theater and film. Her first significant role came in 1980 with Jane Austen in Manhattan, a small independent film that nonetheless showed she had screen presence and intelligence. Casting directors noticed her immediately. That face was impossible to ignore, and the intensity she brought to even minor roles suggested enormous potential. Then came the audition that would change everything. Ridley Scott was casting Blade Runner, his ambitious adaptation of Philip K. Dick's novel, and he needed an actress who could play Rachel, a replicant who doesn't know she's artificial. The role required someone who could be both impossibly glamorous and deeply vulnerable, who could suggest humanity while performing its constructed nature. Sean Young was perfect. She brought to Rachel a quality of tragic elegance, playing her with the stylized gestures of a 1940s film noir heroine while allowing cracks of genuine emotion to show through. The film was a commercial disappointment upon release, but critics recognized its brilliance, and Sean's performance became iconic. Rachel, with her severe hair and dramatic makeup and heartbreaking confusion about her own reality, became one of cinema's great tragic figures. Sean Young, at 22, had announced herself as a major talent. What most people don't know is how the early 80s film industry was transitioning. The old studio system had collapsed, independent filmmaking was emerging, and there was briefly space for actresses who didn't fit conventional molds. Sean was too tall, too angular, too intense for typical romantic comedy roles, but perfect for the kind of sophisticated adult dramas that were still being made. In 1984, she starred in Dune, David Lynch's epic science fiction adaptation, playing Chaney opposite Kyle MacLachlan. The film was troubled, a commercial failure, but it showed Sean could carry big-budget productions. Then came No Way Out in 1987, and Sean Young became a genuine movie star. The political thriller opposite Kevin Costner was sexy, intelligent, and commercially successful, grossing over $35 million. Sean played Susan Atwell with a combination of sensuality and sophistication that made her irresistible. She was being compared to the great actresses of Hollywood's golden age, offered leading roles in major productions, positioned for sustained stardom. But even as her career ascended, warning signs were emerging. Sean was opinionated, unwilling to pretend or perform gratitude, quick to call out sexism and hypocrisy. In an industry built on deference and image management, this made her dangerous. Directors found her challenging. Producers complained she asked too many questions. The Whisper Network started suggesting she was difficult, a label that ruins actresses but never quite sticks to difficult men. In 1988, Sean was cast as Vicky Vale in Tim Burton's Batman opposite Michael Keaton, a role that would have made her a household name and guaranteed franchise work for years. But during rehearsals, she broke her arm in a riding accident. Burton replaced her with Kim Basinger, and Sean's trajectory altered forever. She later claimed Burton and the producers had wanted to replace her anyway, that the injury was merely an excuse, that she'd been too assertive about the character and they wanted someone more pliable. Whether that's true remains debated, but what followed is documented fact. Sean became obsessed with winning back what she'd lost, or rather, winning the next big thing to compensate. When Burton was casting Batman Returns in 1991, Sean launched a campaign to play Catwoman. She appeared on talk shows in a homemade Catwoman costume, showed up at the studio lot trying to convince Burton, made her desperation visible and public. Hollywood found it pathetic, crazy, proof she was unstable. The role went to Annette Bening, then to Michelle Pfeiffer when Bening became pregnant. Sean's public lobbying became a punchline, evidence she couldn't handle rejection, that she was unhinged. The narrative crystallized. Sean Young was talented but troubled, beautiful but difficult, someone whose behavior made her unemployable regardless of her abilities. I want to pause here and ask you something. What was the first film where you saw Sean Young? Was it Blade Runner, mesmerized by Rachel's tragic beauty? Was it No Way Out, understanding that intelligence could be as seductive as appearance? Drop a comment. I first saw Sean in Film Name, and what struck me was, I read every single story, and your memories shape which forgotten stars we explore next. Throughout the early 90s, Sean's career disintegrated. She worked, but the roles were smaller, the budgets lower, the projects increasingly marginal. She appeared in A Kiss Before Dying in 1991, Love Crimes in 1992, films that came and went without notice. Behind the scenes, she was struggling with alcoholism, using drinking to manage the frustration and rejection, to numb the pain of watching her career evaporate. Her behavior became more erratic. There were reports of on-set conflicts, missed calls, unprofessional conduct. Whether these reports were accurate or exaggerated by an industry eager to justify blacklisting her remains unclear, but the effect was the same. Sean Young became unhireable. By the mid-90s, she was doing direct-to-video movies and television guest spots, work that paid bills but confirmed how far she'd fallen. The cruelest irony came in 1994 when she appeared in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, playing a villainous ex-football player living as a woman. The role was transphobic, ugly, the kind of part no self-respecting actress would want, but Sean needed work. The film was a massive hit, grossing over $100 million, but Sean's participation became another data point in the narrative of her decline. She'd gone from playing Rachel in Blade Runner to playing a crude punchline in a Jim Carrey comedy. Hollywood loves these stories of fallen women, proof that beauty and talent aren't enough if you don't play the game correctly. Through the late 90s and 2000s, Sean largely disappeared from screens. She continued fighting for work, continued insisting she'd been blacklisted for refusing to be compliant, continued struggling with sobriety and the trauma of having been the most beautiful woman in the room who still wasn't allowed to stay. She did tiny independent films, reality TV appearances that felt desperate, interviews where she seemed simultaneously defiant and broken. In 2008, she was arrested for battery after an altercation at the Directors Guild of America. She'd allegedly been drinking, gotten into an argument, and the incident became tabloid fodder. More proof she was unstable. But here's what the difficult actress narrative always obscures. Sean Young was right about most of what she complained about. She was sexually harassed by directors and producers. She was replaced because she wouldn't be quiet and decorative. She was blacklisted for refusing to accept that talent and beauty weren't enough. You also had to perform gratitude and submission. Male actors who behaved far worse continued working. Sean Young, who dared to show up in a Catwoman costume to advocate for herself, was branded crazy and expelled. The double standard was glaring, vicious, and permanent. In recent years, Sean has been more open about her struggles, speaking candidly about alcoholism, about the abuse she experienced in Hollywood, about the impossibility of being a woman in an industry controlled by men who punished any assertion of autonomy. She's worked sporadically, small roles here and there, occasional convention appearances where fans still revere her Rachel performance. She's in her 60s now, still beautiful in a weathered way, still carrying the intensity that made her magnetic 40 years ago. But there's also sadness in her story that feels particularly acute. The knowledge that she had everything necessary for sustained success except the willingness to be diminished. Looking at Sean Young's career from beginning to now, the conventional narrative is cautionary. The talented actress who destroyed herself through bad behavior and poor judgment. But that narrative is designed to obscure an uncomfortable truth. Hollywood destroys women who won't be controlled. Sean Young didn't turn her back on Hollywood as much as Hollywood turned its back on her the moment she stopped performing compliance. She was too smart, too assertive, too unwilling to accept that being sexually harassed was just part of the job. And for that, she was punished with professional annihilation while her abusers continued thriving. There's profound tragedy in her story, but also a kind of integrity. Sean Young refused to shrink. She demanded respect, fought for roles, called out hypocrisy, and paid the ultimate professional price. She reminds us that the industry's difficult actress label is usually code for a woman who wouldn't accept abuse, that blacklisting is real and devastating, and that talent and beauty are meaningless if you're not willing to be complicit in your own diminishment. She was everywhere in the 80s, the face of sophisticated science fiction beauty, positioned for decades of stardom. And then she was nowhere, erased not because she lacked ability, but because she lacked willingness to play a rigged game. Today, Sean Young continues working when opportunities arise, advocating for herself in ways that still make Hollywood uncomfortable, aging in an industry that has never forgiven her for being difficult or for being right. She survived addiction, survived blacklisting, survived the annihilation of a career that should have been legendary. And in surviving, she's become something more important than a movie star. She's become evidence of how the industry treats women who refuse to comply. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations of actors who defined our memories and then were punished for being human. Drop a comment with another forgotten star whose story deserves to be told. I read every single one. Sean Young taught us that being right doesn't protect you, that talent isn't enough, that Hollywood destroys women who demand dignity. She didn't turn her back on Hollywood. Hollywood turned its back on her, and we should never forget why.